Only a handful of people get a chance to be guided by iconic civil servants during the course of their UPSC preparation. The Unacademy Summit 2.0 has 70 plus speakers, including Member of Parliament, IAS officers, toppers.
Hello everyone, welcome to Unacademy, India's largest e-learning platform. In our Inspire Prelims crash course, we'll start with Center-State Relations Part 1. Yes guys, so those aspirants wants to start their preparation for the civil services on our platform, they will get daily live classes, structured courses, unlimited access for live and recorded classes along with mock tests. Yes, we 100 plus top educators will guide you throughout the preparation. So please download Unacademy Learning app today and start your preparation. Yes, it's me, Rushikesh Inamdar, having experience more than 8 years in the field of guiding UPSC aspirants. So you can join our Telegram group using this link and you can follow me on Unacademy. Yes guys, so those aspirants wants to start their preparation with module wise, in the sense through subjects, we have 15,000 plus courses available on our platform. Alright, so if we are talking about polity, governance, international relations, history module, Indian economy, geography, environment and ecology, so there are a number of options available for the UPSC CSE preparation. So download Unacademy app today and start your preparation. So those aspirants looking for subscription like plus or iconic subscription, they'll get 10% discount using referral code RBI Live. So do not forget to use code RBI Live. Yes guys, these are the upcoming batches going to start from 18th February, right? So according to your convenience, 6-month batches, 1 year, 2 years or NCRT batches, these are the options for you. Along with that, you can opt for a combo subscription as well, where again you will get huge discount and 10% discount using code RBI Live. Yes. Now, friends, do not forget to attend today's special class at 9 p.m. We'll cover Election Commission. So, I'll conduct this special class on Unacademy app only. Alright, so for that, you have to download Unacademy app or visit this link to attend this lecture today at 9 p.m. Yes. Now we'll start our today's topic, that is Center-State Relations. Yes. Now, what is mean by Center-State Relations? Yes, tell me guys. Yes. So, as we know, our Constitution of India provided federal structure, right? So, we are following federal structure. So, in this structure, if we are talking about various powers, Yes guys, so if I'm talking about all powers like legislative power, executive power, or financial power, so all these powers divided, okay, so all these powers divided into center and state. All right, so we can say in our constitution it's mentioned that division of powers into center and states. All right, so today we'll see these center state relations according to this legislative power, executive, financial powers into these two, how they work and all this, right? So now along with this power, if anybody will ask question, sir, what about judicial power, right? So if we are talking about our judicial power, so there is no division of this judicial powers. Okay, now just remember there is no division of judicial power as our constitution has established an integrated judicial system. Yes, we have integrated judicial system, so there is no division of judicial powers. All right, so our judicial system enforces central laws as well as states laws. Okay, so our judicial system is enforced central law and state law. All right, yes, so just remember guys, legislative, executive and financial powers divided into center and states, but judicial power is no division. Okay, yes, so if we are talking about center and state, so center and states are supreme in their respective fields. Okay, so they have their autonomy, we can say, so they are supreme in their respective fields, and the maximum harmony and coordination between them is essential for the federal system of our nation. All right, so just remember these things. So the harmony and coordination between center and state is essential for effective operation of the federal system in our country. All right, now our constitution contains elaborate provisions to regulate these various dimensions of the relations between center and the states. All right, so the center state relations can be studied under these 3 points, right? So 3 relations we can say. First is legislative relations, second is administrative relations, and third is financial relations. So in today's lecture we'll cover legislative relations and few administrative relations. Yes, now we'll start with legislative relations. So here article 245 and article 255 in part 11 of the constitution deal with the legislative relations between the center and the states. Okay, so these legislative relations mentioned under the article 245(2) 255. Alright, so along with this, there are some other articles dealing with the same subject. Yes, alright. Yes, guys. So Article 245 to 255 deals with the legislative relations. Alright. Now, if we are talking about any other federal constitution, the Indian constitution also divides legislative powers between the center and the states with respect to both the territory and the subjects of legislation. Yes. So if we'll study any other federal constitution in the world, as like them, we are also means our Indian constitution also divides the legislative powers between center and states. Right now, the constitution provides for the parliamentary legislation in the state field under 5 extraordinary situations, as well as the center's control over the state legislation in certain cases. So what is meant by this? It means there are few situations, extraordinary situations, where center or central government, that is the center, control over state legislation. So we'll see these cases. Yes. Now, along with that, there are 4 aspects in the center-state legislative relations, that is territorial extent of the central and state legislation, distribution of legislative subjects, parliamentary legislation in the state field, and center's control over state legislation. Alright, so these are the 4 aspects in the center-state legislative relations. Yes, so first we'll study territorial extent of central and state legislation, right, where so our Constitution of India defines the territorial limits of the legislative powers vested in the center and the states in the following way. So the parliament can make laws for the whole or any part of the territory of India. Yes. So guys, our parliament can make laws for the whole country or any part of the territory of India. Yes. The territory of India includes states, the union territories, and any other area for the time being included in the territory of India. Alright, so here just remember, our parliament can make laws for the whole country or any part of the territory of India. Next, the state legislature can make laws for the whole or any part of the state. Right, so parliament for the whole country or any part of the territory of India. In case of state legislature can make laws for the whole or any part of the state. Yes, so the laws made by a state legislature are not applicable outside the state, except when there is a sufficient nexus between the state and the object. So just remember, any laws made by a state legislature are not applicable outside the state. So there are few exceptions. We'll see in during the course these exceptions as well. Next, the parliament alone can make extraterritorial legislation. Thus, the laws of the parliament are also applicable to the Indian citizens and their property in the part of the world. Yes, now just remember this clause. So the parliament alone can make extraterritorial legislation. The laws of the parliament are also applicable to the Indian citizens and their property in any part of the world. Yes. So, the constitution places certain restrictions on the plenary territorial jurisdiction of the parliament. Right. So again, there is one clause like the constitution places certain restrictions on the plenary territorial jurisdiction of the parliament. So, which means in other words, the laws of parliament are not applicable in the following areas like the president can make regulations for the peace, progress and good government of the union territories, the Andaman Nicobar Island, Lakshadweep, Dadra Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu and Ladakh. Right. So the president can make regulations for the peace, progress and good government of union territories in which the Andaman Nicobar Island, Lakshadweep, Dadra Nagar, Daman Diu and Ladakh. Yes. So a regulation made has the same force and effect as an act of parliament. It may also repeal or amend any act of parliament in relation to these union territories. Alright. Now, second, in this the laws of parliament are not applicable in the following areas where we have studied first clause. Now second clause is the governor is empowered to direct that an act of parliament does not apply to a scheduled area in the state or apply with specified modifications and exceptions. Right. So the government in the state, the government is empowered to direct that an act of parliament does not apply to a scheduled area in the state or apply with specified modifications and exceptions. Alright, now next clause, that is the governor of Assam may likewise direct that an act of parliament does not apply to a tribal area. Alright, so in the state or apply with specified modification and exceptions. So the president enjoys the same power with respect to tribal areas in Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Yes, if we are talking about this scheduled area or tribal areas in the state of Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram, our President of India enjoys the same power to, yes, Aman, right, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. So the president enjoys the same power with respect to these tribal areas in these states. Right. Next, distribution of legislative subjects. Yes, guys. So, the Constitution provides for a threefold distribution of legislative subjects between the center and the states, right? Where list 1 is union list, list 2 is the state list, and list 3 is the concurrent list. So these lists are mentioned in our 7th schedule of the Constitution. Yes, so the Parliament has exclusive powers to make laws with respect to any of the matters enumerated in the Union list. Yes, so the Parliament has exclusive powers to deal with Union list. Yes, so if we are talking about subjects mentioned in the union list like defense, banking, foreign affairs, currency, atomic energy, insurance, communication, interstate trade and commerce, census, audit, and so on. So these are the subjects mentioned in the union list. Alright, now next. The state legislature has in normal circumstances and exclusive powers to make laws with respect to any of the matters enumerated in the state list. Yes, so the state legislature basically deals with the state lists, okay, in normal circumstances. Just remember this point. So we'll discuss few information related with this in this session itself. So, if we are talking about subjects related or subjects mentioned in the state list like public order, police, public health and sanitization, agriculture, prisons, local government, fisheries, markets, theaters, gambling, etc. So, these are the few subjects mentioned in the state lists. Alright. Now, what about concurrent list? Yes, so list 1 is union list, list 2nd is state list, and what about list 3 concurrent list? So just remember, the parliament and state legislature can make laws with respect to any of the matters enumerated in the concurrent lists. Okay, so basically both the parliament and the state legislature can make laws with respect to any of the matter enumerated in the concurrent list. So if we are talking about subjects mentioned in the concurrent list like criminal law and procedure, civil procedure, marriage and divorce, population control and family planning, electricity, labor welfare, economic and social planning, drugs, newspapers, books and printing press, and others. So these are the few examples of few subjects mentioned in the concurrent lists. So guys, just remember now, distribution of legislative subjects. So there is threefold distribution, that is union list, state list, and the concurrent list. Yes. In union list, there are subjects like defense, banking, foreign affairs, currency, atomic energy, insurance, communication, interstate trade and commerce, census, audit, etc. In state list, the subjects like public order, police, public health and sanitization, agriculture, prisons, local government, fisheries, markets, theatres, etc. And in the concurrent list, subjects like criminal law and procedure, civil procedure, marriage and divorce, population control and family planning, electricity, labor welfare, etc. Yes. Now, note down the point, friends. Yes. So, the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 transferred 5 subjects to the concurrent list from the state lists. So, the subjects like education, forest, weights and measures, protection of wild animals and birds, administration of justice, constitution and organization of all courts except the Supreme Court and the High Courts. So these subjects are transferred to concurrent list from the state list. So these 5 subjects earlier, before 1976, these subjects were mentioned in the state list. Now, after the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976, education, forest, weights and measures, protection of wild animals and birds, administration of justice, constitution and organization of all courts except the Supreme Court and High Courts transferred to concurrent list. Yes, next. So, Parliament has power to make laws with respect to any matter for any part of the territory of India not included in the state, even though that matter is one which is enumerated in the state list. This provision has reference to the union territories or acquired territories. Right? So, our parliament has power to make laws with respect to any matter for any part of the territory of India which not included in the state, even though that matter is one of which enumerated in the state list. Right? So, 101st Amendment Act 2016 has made a special provision with respect to goods and services tax. Goods and services tax. So, the Parliament and the state legislature have power to make laws with respect to goods and services tax imposed by the union or by the state. Right? Now, the power to make laws with respect to residuary subjects, that is, the matters which are not enumerated in the any of these 3 lists, that is union list, state list and concurrent list. Okay, so if will study, like there are few subjects which are not mentioned in these 3 lists, so these all subjects, and so power to make laws with respect to all these subjects is vested in the parliament. So this residuary power of legislation includes the power to levy residuary taxes as well. So if we are talking about these residuary subjects, all right, so those matters or subjects are not mentioned in these 3 lists. So parliament has the power to make laws with these residuary subjects. Yes. So here you have to just remember, friends, those subjects are not part of these 3 lists. So any law or provisions related with these subjects is under the jurisdiction of Parliament of India, right? So the Parliament can make laws with respect to these residuary subjects. Yes, next. So after all these statements and information, it is clear that The matters of national importance and the matters which require uniformity of legislation nationwide are included in the union list. Yes, as we have studied the subjects which are important or importance of nationality, right? So we can say national importance and the matters which require uniformity of legislation nationwide are included in the union list. Yes. So the matters of regional and local importance and the matters which permits diversity of interest are specified in the state lists. So here we can say the local or regional matters mentioned in the state list. Yes. And the matters on which uniformity of legislation throughout the country is desirable but not essential. Okay. So the matters on which uniformity of legislation throughout the country is desirable but not essential are included in the concurrent list. Okay. Yes. Yes, Ram Kumar. So today we are studying Center-State Relations. Yes, where we are dealing with the legislative relations. So basically all these powers and laws permits diversity along with uniformity. Yes. Now the same thing if will see in the USA, United States of America, where only the powers of the federal government are enumerated in the constitution and the residuary powers are left to the states. But in our country, residuary powers are left to the union, that is central. Now, in case of Australia, so the Australian constitution followed the American pattern of single enumeration of powers, and in Canada there is a double enumeration, that is federal and provincial, and the residuary powers are vested in the center, right? So we can say we follows the Canadian precedent. Yes, we are following this idea from Canadian constitution. Now the Government of India Act 1935. So in the chapter Center-State Relations, now will study the relation of or connection of this. The Government of India Act 1935 provided threefold enumeration, that is federal, provincial and concurrent, which means union, state and concurrent. But in present constitution we follow the same scheme, but there is one difference, that is if we are talking about this Government of India Act 1935, where the residuary powers were given neither to the federal legislature or not to the provincial legislature, but to the Governor General of India. Yes, we are following this threefold system, but there is one difference, that is in this Government of India Act 1935, residuary powers were given to the Governor General of India. Yes, now next. The Constitution expressly secures the predominance of the union list over the state list and the concurrent list, and that of the concurrent list over the state list. So here we can say our constitution secures the predominance of the union list over the state list and the concurrent list okay, so union list over the state list and the concurrent list, and that of the concurrent list over the state lists. Yes, so in case of overlapping between the union list and the state list, the former should be prevail. Okay, so just remember the point. In case of overlapping between the union list and the state list, the formal should be prevail. Right, now next. In case of overlapping between the union list and the concurrent list, it is again the former which should prevail. Alright. Yes. So where there is a conflict between the concurrent list and the state list, it is the former that should prevail. So on this overlapping or conflict between these lists, so former there is the former that should prevail. Yes. Now next, in case of a conflict between the central law and the state law on a subject enumerated in the concurrent list, the central law prevails over the state law. Yes. Here, if the conflict between central law and the state law on a subject mentioned in the concurrent list, then the central law prevails over the state law. But now again there is an exception, that is if the state law has been reserved for the consideration of the president and has received his assent, then the state law prevails in that state. Okay, so just remember this exception. If we are talking about the conflict between the central law and state law on a subject mentioned in the concurrent list where the central law prevails over the state law. But there is one exception, that is if the state law has been reserved for the consideration of the president and reserved his assent, then the state law prevails in that state, but it would be still be competent for the parliament to override such a law by subsequently making a law on the same matter. Right, so it would be still be competent for the parliament to override such a law. Okay, yes. Next is parliamentary legislation. Yes guys, so parliamentary legislation in the state field. So distribution of legislative powers between the center and the state to be maintained in normal times, and in abnormal times the scheme of distribution is either modified or suspended. So we can say, in other words, the constitution empowers the parliament to make laws on any matter enumerated in the state list under the following extraordinary circumstances. So now we'll see these extraordinary circumstances, like Rajya Sabha passes a resolution if the Rajya Sabha declares that it is necessary in the national interest that Parliament should make laws with respect to goods and services tax, or a matter in the state list, then the Parliament becomes competent to make laws on that matter. right? So first circumstances is Rajya Sabha passes a resolution if the Rajya Sabha declares that it is necessary in the national interest that Parliament should make law with respect to goods and services tax or a matter in the state list, then the Parliament becomes competent to make laws on that matter. Yes, so such a resolution must be supported by two-thirds of the members present and vote. Yes, now the resolution remains in force for 1 year. It can be renewed any number of times but not exceeding 1 year at a time, right? So the laws cease to have effect on the expiration of 6 months after the resolution has ceased to be in force. Yes. So this provision does not restrict the power of state legislature to make laws on the same matter. Right. So this provision does not restrict the power of state legislature to make laws on the same matter, but in case of inconsistency between a state law and a parliamentary law, the latter is to prevail. Yes. Now, in case of national emergency, yes. So, the Parliament acquires the power to legislate with respect to goods and services tax or matters in the state list while a proclamation of national emergency is in operation. Yes. So, during a national emergency, Parliament acquires the power to legislate with the respect to goods and services tax or matters in the state list while a proclamation of national emergency is in operation. Yes, so the laws become inoperative on the expiration of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. Right? So the power of state legislature to make laws on the same matter is not restricted, but in case of repugnancy between a state law and parliamentary law, the latter two is to prevail. Alright, so when state make a request, when the legislature of two or more states, now just see this clause, when a state make a request, when the legislature of two or more states pass resolutions requesting the parliament to enact laws on a matter in the state list. So here we can say two or more states, two or more states can pass resolutions requesting the parliament to enact laws on a matter in the state list. Then the parliament can make laws for regulating that matter. So two or more states can pass the resolution that is a request to the parliament to enact law on a matter mentioned in the state list. So this law enacted and applies only to those states which have passed the resolution. For example, state A, B and C, these three states passed a resolution that is a request to the parliament to enact a law related with the subject mentioned in the state list. Then parliament will make a law, and a law enacted and applies to only these three states because only these three states pass the resolution that is a request. Okay, now after the enacted enacted of that particular law. Any other state feels or they want to adopt the same law, then again they separately pass the resolution for the same, okay, in their legislature, right? So but a law can be, this particular law which is enacted by the parliament can be amended or repealed only by the parliament and not by the legislature of the concerned state. For example, they'll pass the resolution and request to the parliament to make a law mentioned in our state list. Now parliament will make that law and they'll enact that law. After that, this particular law which is enacted by the parliament will, so particular this law can be amended and repealed only by the parliament, not by the state legislatures, okay. Yes. Now the effect of passing a resolution under the above provision is that the parliament becomes entitled to legislate with respect to a matter for which it has no power to make a law. On the other hand, the state legislature ceases to have the power to make a law with respect to that matter. So, the resolution operates as abdication or surrender of the power of the state legislature with respect to that matter, and it is placed entirely in the hands of parliament, which alone can legislate with respect to it, right? Now in this, if we'll study or we'll see few laws related with the or passed through such a request enacted by the parliament. Yes. So, under this provision, these few laws passed like Price Competition Act 1955, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Urban Land Sealing and Regulation Act 1976, Transplantation of Human Organs Act 1994. Alright, so these are the laws passed under this provision. Yes, where two or more states passed a request or resolution to the parliament to make a law mentioned in the state list. Yes. Now, next, to implement international agreements. Yes, to implement international agreements, the parliament can make laws on any matter in the state list for implementing the international treaties, agreements, and conventions. Yes, so this provision enables the central government to fulfill its international obligation and commitments. So in case of implementation of international agreements, the parliament can make laws on any matter in the state list for implementing the international treaties, agreements, or conventions. So there are few examples of enacted under the above provision like United Nations Privileges and Immunities Act 1947, Geneva Convention Act 1960, Anti-Hijacking Act 1982, legislations relating to environmental and TRIPS. Alright. Yes, guys. Now, yes. So, in case of implementation of international agreements, the parliament can make laws to any matter mentioned in the state list. Yes, now. So, during president's rule, when the president's rule is imposed in a state, the parliament becomes empowered to make laws with respect to any matter in the state list in relation to that state. So, during the president's rule is imposed in a state, the parliament becomes empowered to make laws with respect to any matter in the state list in relation to that particular state. For example, here is state A where president's rule is imposed. Now, in the state A, after the imposing of president rule, parliament parliament can make laws with respect to any matter mentioned in the state list. All right. Now, when parliament will make that particular law, so that law continues to be operative even after the president's rule. For example, in the state, president rule imposed, for example, in January 20. Now, parliament enacted or passed, made one law related with the state list. Now, in March 2020, president rule is repealed, right? Now, after that, there will be after they hand over power to the government after the elections. Then a law made during the president's rule is continue to be operative after the president rule as well. Means after the president rule, the law will be continue, right? Which means the period for which such a law remains in force is not conterminous with the duration of the president's rule, and such a law can be repealed or altered by reenacted by the state legislature. But such a law can be repealed or altered or reenacted by the state legislature after the president rule. All right. Yes. Now, center's control over state legislation beside the parliament's power to legislate directly on the state subjects under the exceptional situations. The constitution empowers the center to exercise control over the state's legislative matters in the following ways, where the governor can reserve certain types of bills passed by the state legislature for the consideration of the president, and the president enjoys absolute veto over them. Yes. Next is bills on certain matters enumerated in the list can be introduced in the state legislature only with the previous sanction of the president. For example, the bills imposing restrictions on the freedom of trade and commerce. So, centers control over the state legislation beside the parliament's power to legislate directly on the state subjects under the exceptional situations. Alright. Yes. So the center can direct the states to reserve money bills and other financial bills passed by the state legislature for the president's consideration during a financial emergency. Yes. Yes. So from this above all these statements and provisions, it is clear that Constitution has assigned a position of superiority to the center in the legislative sphere. All right. Yes. So in the same context, Sarkaria Commission on Center-State Relations observed the rule of federal supremacy is a technique to avoid absurdity, resolve conflict, and ensure harmony between the union and the state laws. If this principle of union supremacy is excluded, it is not difficult to imagine its deleterious results. Okay, so there will be every possibility of our two-tier political system being stilted by interference, strife, legal chaos, and confusion caused by a host of conflicting laws, much to the bewilderment of the common citizen. That is the confusion of the common citizen, we can say. Yes. So, integrated legislative policy and uniformity on basic issues of common union state concern will be stemmed. So, the federal principle of unity in diversity will be very much a casualty. So this rule of federal supremacy therefore is indispensable for the successful functioning of the federal system. Yes. Yes, guys. So this is all about the legislative powers between state and center. Now, in the next lecture, we'll start with the central state legislative relations at a glance through articles. We'll see in the next lecture. Right? So, yes, friends, do not forget to enroll for or register for our Unacademy Summit 2.0, where there are 2 insightful days, 70 speakers, 20 talks and discussions, and 32 hands-on workshops. Yes, so register yourself for our upcoming Unacademy Summit 2.0 scheduled on February 20 and 21. Yes. So we can say it will boost your preparation, right? So join or register yourself for the Unacademy Summit 2.0. And our next combat, that is, we can say our scholarship program. So our Unacademy combat is scheduled on 20th February morning 11 o'clock. So in this combat, you can win amazing prizes, right? So you can register yourself for this combat using code RBI Live. Yes, guys. The structure of this combat, like 45 minutes, 60 questions, and we are conducting fortnightly contest. Yes. So enroll yourself for Unacademy combat and win amazing prizes. You can check details here as well. Yes, you'll get All India ranking and these benefits. Yes, guys. Now, in center-state relations, tomorrow we'll see the articles at a glance in legislative powers, after that administrative powers and financial powers as well. So, before that, just revise what we have studied today and do not forget to join our Telegram group using this link, and like, share and subscribe our video. Keep studying and say let's